My name is Kelly, and I have an unhealthy obsession with serial killers. This is Kelly and Grant, king-size killers and bite-sized bits. Today we're going to talk about the alphabet killers. Okay?
Yeah. All right. You ready to start again?
Oh, that was fun.
The alphabet killer.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about three little girls in New York in the 70s that were murdered. And they thought, they call it the alphabet killer because they thought that they were targeted because their names, their first initial and their last initial were the same.
I did read that because at first, see what happened was that this time I picked a killer, and now I'm here for Kelly to describe the killer to me. And I did no research about the alphabet killer, but I was very intrigued about why that was his name. What could that possibly mean? I did find out that, it was all the victims had, like, what was it again? You just said it.
Their first initial and their last initial
Were the same?
Were the same. Mm-hmm.
Why does that make it alphabetical, though?
Well, because they thought that he was picking them because of the letters, so they just said
what
the
were the
alphabet.
letters?
One victim was Carmen Colon. I hope I
Okay.
pronounced that correctly.
Cologne.
Colon.
Okay.
And then the second was Wanda Wolins.
Oh, so I thought you meant that, like,
I mean-
so there was three girls, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was three small girls or
Mhm.
young girls, but I
They
thought
were
it
little.
was something because I wanted this all to be new and fresh. I thought it was more of like Kelly, so it was K and let's say F,
Oh,
and then
okay.
the next girl was K F. Like they are all the same. So
I got you.
So it's their first name matched their last name.
Yeah.
Okay, still not alphabetical, but okay,
Right. They had to give him a nickname.
enough to necessitate a name.
Yes.
So I also saw that there was a lot in common, wasn't there, with the three girls?
Well, they came from some troubling backgrounds. Maybe they were a little poor on the poor side. I think the first girl, Carmen, may have struggled with some mental issues. She was a loner.
How old were these girls?
So Carmen was 10 in 1971 when she was murdered. She was just discarded along a road. She had been sexually assaulted, and I think she had a skull fracture.
Okay.
All three of them had been sexually assaulted. Another one, Wanda, wasn't until 73, and Wanda was 11. So sorry about that. Wanda was 11, and she was like a little tough girl, so they were kind of surprised that she went missing. She was known for like holding her own on the playground.
Yeah, but I mean, if you and as far as I know, the alphabet killer has not been caught, right?
No.
So you can't even say it was a large man that abducted these girls.
Right,
Like
right.
no one knows who it was.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And it's 30 years. So
It's still unsolved.
the third one her name was Michelle.
Michelle.
Yes, and she was also in 73. So the first one was in 71, nothing happened in 72, and then the other two were in 73.
So could this even be the same person? Like, do they have evidence other than, I guess, the names and the age of the girls? But I mean, that's a pretty weird thing to go from 1 year to skip to
Right.
get to more girls in another year.
Right.
I think, but
Well, I agree with you, and I think in this day and age, like I don't know. It was actually, I couldn't find anything recent, like a documentary that was that had anything like recent. But if they still had the DNA from this guy,
okay.
and they've
Yeah.
got all of this technology that they can go back and like they could take your DNA, and
So you probably don't want that to happen.
yeah, right.
Well, just like, because it's stuff you don't even think about. It things you touch or just anything can have your DNA nowadays. So
Right.
back in the 70s, it might be a little bit different. I feel like that we weren't as sophisticated. So with our technology,
No, but hopefully they kept it. That's how they caught the original Night Stalker.
Oh, okay. Richard Ramirez.
No. The,
The original Night Stalker.
Yeah, the East Side Rapist.
Okay.
Was by his daughter's DNA. They actually got it from her gynecologist.
Didn't they figure out the Zodiac too?
No.
Or that still
No,
never
that's
has
still.
been. Okay.
They've got a lot of theories on that,
Yeah.
but no.
Well, same as Jack the Ripper. You're never really gonna find.
Oh,
out.
you're never. No.
Yeah.
Maybe when you die, you can you'll find all these mysteries out, but.
Do you think that's what I like? What everybody thinks happens when you get to the White House, like when they just open up that imaginary folder of like aliens and stuff. So that's what happens when you die.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, here's all the, and it might be different for each person too. Like,
Maybe.
what are the 5 questions you have?
Oh, I have more than 5.
And I don't know if you want to waste it on. Well, who
Who's
was
Jack
the
the Ripper?
alphabet killer?
Yeah, no. I think what's sad is these poor families will at this point not know who killed their little girls,
Yeah. I mean,
and did he stop? Because typically people like this don't just stop.
well, that's what makes you wonder. Like, is it the same person? And if it is, why 3? Because technically, isn't a serial killer isn't that defined as killing 6 or more people?
3.
Is it?
Serial,
Oh, okay.
3 or more people. Sometimes they'll give you 2
Okay.
or more.
Well, because that's why I was a little bit disappointed because I did blindly pick this person, and then when I started kind of looking into it, it was there were only 3 girls, and that's terrible to say, but I was kind of disappointed there wasn't more. But yeah, so is there anything? I mean, like, so, is there anything interesting about this guy? Like, was there anything in the cases, or was it just literally the cops found the girls, discarded basically on a road, and just kind of there's no evidence, there's no anything, so the families just have to deal with it.
Well, there was the interesting thing with Carmen was there were witnesses. She actually was able to get out of this guy's car and took off running down the highway.
Yeah.
And was waving her arms.
Yeah.
And the abductor got her and put her back in the car. And the witnesses did an interview on one of the documentaries I did see, and they said back in the 70s things were different. Kids, they probably would have thought she had some sort of mental problem and was running away from her parents, and they actually admitted we probably would have just handed her right back over to him, not knowing what was actually going on.
So there were people that saw this girl run down.
Yeah.
That's fucking heartbreaking, actually.
It is. Yeah, it is. It truly is. And he said, nowadays, I mean, the cops would have been called, people would have been questioned.
Yeah.
She could have, if it would have happened today, it's a greater chance she would have been alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that she got out, and I actually got chills, that she actually got out of the car and was running, and nobody helped her.
Nobody cared, and there were people there to pay attention, and no one cared.
Yeah. Wow, we've come a long way since the 70s.
I mean, it is still weird because, like, you watch all these horror movies too, and you think about if I were driving down a road at night, and and it's usually a woman, the final girl is running down and out of the woods, raising her hands everywhere. Would you stop? Like that's the thing when you'll see somebody drive by them, and you're like, "What an asshole!" And then you go like, "Would I do anything different, or would I I don't want to deal with this?"
I've thought about that.
And it's and honestly, I just dismiss it and say like, hopefully, I'm never in that situation because I have actually picked up a hitchhiker.
You have?
Yeah, I took him to work.
All these years, I've never known that.
Yeah, it was back in high school. It was during summer. I remember I stayed up all night and I couldn't sleep, and I burned a CD. If that tells you,
wow,
what year this was. He's gonna stay here. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I was really hungry, so I worked at McDonald's. So I decided to go to McDonald's to get breakfast. On the way there, I saw this guy on the side of the road just walking, and I stopped at a stoplight, and he knocked on the window, and I rolled it down, and he said, "Hey man, I don't have a car right now. This is my first day to work, and I'm running late. Can you help me?"
Huh.
And it was the warehouses, like South Park area.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He was like, "Yeah, it's over at one of the warehouses, like one of the factories over there. It's just boxing up stuff." And I was like, "Get in."
Oh
And
my.
he got in, and we talked. He gave me a cigarette, and he was like, "Do you need a job?" And I was like, "Eh." And he's like, "I'll try to talk to somebody for you. Like, this is really nice." And like he was really appreciative and got out of the car. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, would I do that now? I have no idea. And like
Oh,
at the
yeah.
time, everybody thought I was crazy. They're like,
Yeah.
you fucking did. I was like, he asked and he was nice and nothing happened. But that, like, I do know now that I'm probably a lucky one of like,
Yeah.
I actually got a decent person that just was kind of having a bad day, you know?
And you probably did something for him that day that, you know, set his life in a good direction.
Hopefully.
You know,
Yeah.
because if he'd have been late for work or didn't make it to work, who'd have known?
Who'd have
You know,
known,
who
yeah.
knows what would have happened?
So yeah, I even offered to buy him well, not buy him because it would have been free, but I offered to take him to get McDonald's, and he was like, "No, I'm actually late, so I need to."
I need to go to
I
work.
appreciate it, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weird things of. I mean, that might be a side tangent, but
That's okay.
it is that weird thing of. If you're in that situation, would
Yeah.
you stop and pick them up? And I honestly can't say I would.
I think if it involved, like, if I think if I'd seen a child and running somewhere,
See,
yeah,
maybe that's different. A
I
child's
would,
different.
yeah.
But yeah, going
Thank
back to the
you.
horror movie thing. Yeah, if somebody
No.
ran out of the woods frantically, covered in blood.
I think before I stopped, I'd have to have my doors unlocked. It'd still be like
Oh
in
yeah,
gear,
it's just like
like open the door, get in, and we're gone.
if you can catch me.
yeah, I'm not gonna stop all the way. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, is trying to get back to the actual
Yeah.
person. Is there
definitely not making light of the whole story, but
is there anything else? Or I mean, like, or is this kind of an open thing just because there's no evidence and they could still be out there?
yeah. Well, my thought was, you know, maybe they moved states. They did have.
Oh yeah, where did this happen?
New York?
New York. Okay.
So yeah, I don't. They did. There was a few FBI profilers got together and did a profile on him.
I did read a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the guy that created the term serial killer.
Yeah.
So then that goes back to you saying the 3 because that must be a thing because if he's considering this guy a serial killer, then that's what it is. So yeah, do you have anything else?
No,
Or did I just pick not a dud to start off on?
No,
but not much. I didn't give you much to work with.
Well, I think any sort of conversation about things like this is a good conversation when it goes out onto the internet because people will hopefully watch.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't know, it could reach that one person that's like, oh my gosh, I lived there during this time. Or, you know, you never know.
Yeah.
But they did think that that he was anywhere between 25 and 30 years old, low average, and not very intelligent.
Okay.
Yeah, you hear that? He was not very intelligent. And he probably abused alcohol and had a pretty bad temper.
Okay.
Because he did, you know, do bodily harm to these girls. And I mean, I have a grandchild, you know, a little younger than these girls were, and I can't even imagine manhandling something so small, and this is what he did. And so you know, so they obviously, like any sex crime, anybody that does that, they usually like are peeping toms. They have, you know, they expose themselves.
Yeah.
You know, all
There's
around
something
perv.
mentally
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea that he just stopped, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
But, you know, hopefully with, like I said earlier, with all of the technology, hopefully they can, you know, trace his DNA. And even if he's dead, at least it brings some closure.
Somebody knows.
Yeah.
I do have a question that popped in my head.
Okay.
He had to have watched these girls or stalked them in some way because how would he know, unless it's complete coincidence, how would he know their names?
It turned out it had nothing to do. It was a coincidence.
It was a coincidence. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with their names at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I found quite amazing that he picked 3 girls
with the same
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, so
All right.
I like this.
Okay.
I like this. I don't know about you.
Well, we can, or I can do better next time.
Okay. Well, no, it's fine.